Assalamu alaikum. This is my 5th banquet now, and every time I start, I think I'm not going to be surprised at the audience, that I won't be in complete awe of all of you. And so what I'd like to ask that you do is give yourselves a round of applause for what you enable CAIR to do for the community. This is the oldest CAIR chapter in the country. And 5 years ago, when I started here, if someone had asked me, when a community member calls because the FBI is on their front doorstep, what can CAIR do to help? I don't know that I would have had that answer. If they had asked me, do you have the capacity to go up against one of the nation's largest and most prolific for their racism and discrimination clothing retailers, I don't know that I would have had that answer. But today, I stand here because of all of you at my 5th CAIR banquet to thank you for what you enable this organization to do. People ask how we do this work. How is it that we deal with hate mail? And isn't it frightening when the FBI is upset because you're helping a community member? Or aren't you scared that Abercrombie & Fitch doesn't want to be your friend? And my answer to that is no. We do this because our faith drives us to do this. Muslim children everywhere learn that when they see something wrong, they shouldn't stop it. They shouldn't reject it. They should change it. They should stand up and change it with their hands. And if they can't change it with their hands, they should change it with their tongues. And if they can't change it with their tongues, they should at the very least hate it in their hearts. And that's what drives our work at CAIR, is this desire to change oppression, to change racism, to change discrimination, and not just for our community. I'm not working for freedom for Muslims. Our staff doesn't work for freedom for Muslims. We work for freedom for all people. Because we know that when retailers decide to be racist against one community, it's very likely that tomorrow they won't like someone else. When we talk about Abercrombie & Fitch, we should remember that this is a company that has a history of discriminating against disabled people, against African Americans, against Latinos, and really offending everybody else. So why were we surprised when they turned their focus on Muslims? When we talk about the FBI's harassment of the Muslim community, this is not new. They did it to Japanese Americans during World War II. They did it to people that were confused for communists and mistaken for Russian sympathizers during the Cold War. They did it to African Americans and Latinos during the war on drugs. Today they do it to Muslims. But when we push back, when we work towards freedom for all people, it's not just for Muslims, because tomorrow it will be someone else. And I work towards a vision, and I would hope that we all work towards a vision that this community weathers the storm, builds institutions, so that tomorrow, when it's not us, when it's somebody else, we can say, we will stand with you. We will stand by you. We fight for freedom for all people. You all have annual reports on your tables, and so I won't take your time with statistics and numbers. But I do want to share just a couple of brief highlights. People sometimes ask, what does CAIR do? What is it that you do in that office across from the MCA? Why do you need the staff? If you found an attorney that charged you $100 an hour, the best attorneys will charge you $600 to $700 an hour. And for us at CAIR, it's really important that your access to justice not be contingent on your ability to pay that bill. That when the FBI is on your front doorstep, when your child says, my teacher said something anti-Muslim, that you not think, can I afford an activist or advocate today, that you be able to call CAIR, irrespective of your financial status, and get that help for free. But we're not just doing direct services. We're engaging the media. Turn on your television, turn on the radio, open the newspaper, and you will see that there's a CAIR representative speaking up and amplifying the voice of the Muslim community every day in any city across this country. Because we're not going to let the anti-Muslim activists tell other people what Islam is or who Muslims are. And then the last piece that I'll highlight is our elected officials. You saw many of them here with us today. It's really important that they know what their Muslim constituents think, that they know that Muslim voters are paying attention, that Muslim taxpayers are paying attention, and that when they do things we don't appreciate, we will hold them accountable. But also that when they do things we do like, that we will thank them and we will turn out in numbers to support them. And so this year we were excited to celebrate the second annual Muslim Day at the Capitol, bringing over 100 Muslims from across California to Sacramento to say, this is what we're saying. You hear from all of your other special interest communities. Let us tell you what the Muslim community wants. But don't just take my word for it. I'm a staff member, and so you may think I'm biased. Of course I love CAIR. It's in my blood now, or so I've been told. I'd like to introduce you to two incredibly courageous young people from our community who stood up and pushed back against racism and discrimination, who said they wouldn't tolerate harassment, that they would be strong Muslims. And so I'd like to ask you to join me in welcoming Yusuf Asad and Fatima Abdo, who are here to share their stories with you.
Assalamu alaikum. A few months ago, a teacher told me that I should not be bringing my Palestinian lanyard to school since it has a Palestinian flag on it and it offends him. But I didn't agree with him and I kept it with me. A few weeks later, he saw me and gave me a bad speech about how the Palestinians terrorize the Jews and how they blow themselves up in cafes, and snatched it out of my pocket and said, "I told you not to bring it." Later on, he told my classmates that I'm bullying him and used the school internet system to describe me as a bully. I was really upset. I thought about it for a week and decided to discuss it with my dad. We agreed what happened is not right and we should discuss it with the school principal. We also contacted CAIR. CAIR helped us a lot by contacting the Santa Clara School District directly to discuss the problem. Fortunately, the school district agreed with us it's not appropriate for the teacher to behave this way, and he should have not done what he did. All I wanted to have the teacher apologize and get my lanyard back, which he did. We are proud Palestinian Americans, just like the Irish Americans and Mexican Americans, and every other culture that lives in Silicon Valley. It is important to stand up for your rights. After all, this is land of the free and home of the brave.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Fatima Abdo and I am 15 years old. I'm speaking to you this evening because last year when I was a freshman in high school, something happened to me that taught me the importance of standing up for what is right. During class, I turned around to ask my friend a question. As I was asking her a question, my teacher turned to me and said, "If you don't stop talking, I'm going to rip that thing off your head." The second I heard those words, I knew this was completely unacceptable. Silence took over the entire class as they gasped at what she said. I spoke up because I was so angry and infuriated at this. and I said this is an extremely racist thing to say. She replied with such defiance, "I don't care." I was a little timid about telling my family at first, but I did. They guided me and told me to talk to the principal about what had happened. So that is exactly what I did. My principal was shocked and said something like this should never happen and that this was completely unacceptable. Later that day, I got called into the office, and when I walked in, the teacher was sitting there with the principal. She claimed she was joking around when she said that, and the reason why she said that was because I couldn't hear with my hijab on. I told her she should never joke around with something like this and that her actions cannot be tolerated. I told my family what happened with the principal and the teacher, so my family contacted CAIR and set up a meeting with my principal. As a result of the meeting, a few people from the district came to my school to personally apologize for what had happened. My teacher also got in trouble, and the whole staff went through sensitivity training. After this experience, I started a Muslim student association at my school so that we can come together to help if something like this were to happen to one of us. I am very thankful to my family and CAIR for guiding me through this and helping me do what is right. Sometimes when you are faced with difficulties, you may feel afraid, but there is nothing to be afraid of. On the contrary, it makes you a stronger person and earns you respect from everyone. We are Muslims, and we should be proud of that. We should never let anyone put us down. We should never let anyone put us down, put our religion down, or violate any of our rights. We must stand tall and fight for what we believe in. Thank you.